Okay, we're recording now. We're officially calling this meeting to order. Thank you for joining another Saturday prior to another snowstorm. Okay, call the meeting to order. Approve prior minutes. We have the minutes from last week. Anyone have any changes, adjustments? Okay, hearing none. Monica.
Lois, I'm not officially on this committee, correct?
Correct.
So I'm not voting on anything.
Correct, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I keep putting you down as a guest.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So it is on the minutes that you're here and you're participating and you're recorded in the minutes.
Right.
Anything you say is recorded. Be careful. Anyway, so all in favor of approving the minutes? Okay, that's unanimous. Moving on. Thank you, Mark, very much. So, Mike, will you give us a status, please, on where we are on the GoToMeeting implementation of the names?
Of the F&B and Education Committee, everyone who had logged on at the moment that the meeting was called to order had their name changed, except one person who will work on. There were a handful of people who had not joined the meeting yet. If I've got the other ones ready to go if they have a meeting, and I would imagine, depending on the outcome of the Rules Committee meeting, I don't know if Amy has anything for Planning and Zoning and Housing. She had talked about something. TGS&A will probably have a meeting based on what we're going to do with the Rules Committee. And Public Health and Safety, I don't know, you'd have to switch to GoToMeeting for that.
I don't know that we'll have a meeting. If we have a meeting, I might call in some friends to help or learn how to use GoToMeeting.
And then Parks and Recreation is 224. I don't know if they've got, if they'll have a meeting or not, but so there'll probably be, right now, probably 40 of the 100 have their name changed, maybe higher.
And Public Works is having a meeting this week too.
What day is your, I figured Cecil would make the changes. Because Cecil's doing your meeting. What day is it?
I think it's the 11th.
Okay.
Cecil can't make the change. What you're meaning is he will talk to people about making sure they change.
Yeah. But he's doing the meeting.
Right.
So I'll talk to Cecil.
So Mike, are people changing before the meeting officially starts?
Yes. Yeah. And
So
as soon as the chairs were ready to call them, Stacey took care of finance and budget, and I did education. But as soon as Clara was ready to call the meeting to order, I left and they had their meeting.
Okay. So they were signed in, and then they were able to change their name when they were signed in before the meeting started.
Yes.
Okay.
And I went over a couple of times. This has to be and how to do it if they were going to use a different device for the RTM meeting, because it doesn't transfer in the GoToMeeting, it transfers in the device. So,
okay.
So like I use my iPhone for the RTM meeting, and so I had to change it on the iPhone. But no one seemed intimidated by it.
Okay, and Cecil knows how to educate people to do this? Okay, great, thanks.
So Mike, how should we address getting everybody to know they have to do this? Have you thought about how you would like to handle that?
Well, I can do an instruct, if to do it on your computer, you really got to be in the meeting unless you've downloaded the app. It depends on whether someone goes in through the app or someone goes in through the web version. For instance, if on your phone, I'm able to change my name on my phone just going into the app without a meeting, but those who haven't downloaded the app and go in through the web access, they've got to really be in a meeting to change their name.
So if you hit the link and that's the way you join the meeting, you have to do it after you've joined the meeting.
Yeah, because you can't because you don't have any meeting. It doesn't. When you go into the app, remember you hit the link and then it takes you directly in. There's no. There may be a way to do it before, but I can go look, but I don't think there is. I think you have to be.
Okay. Okay.
So can we put out, do you want to prepare something that we can put out to everybody saying, if you haven't already done this in one of your meetings, through your meeting, or if you're using a different device, here's how you do this?
Yeah, I can put something together, but again, if they go in through their computer, they've got to be in a meeting to do it. I don't want to tell people that they have to download the GoToMeeting app.
No, I agree with you, but it just means that when they sign in, so when we start, when we start our next RTM meeting, right? It will be obvious who hasn't done it.
I think let's see how many
Yeah.
have meetings through February before the next RTM
Okay.
meeting. But then I would suggest before the RTM meeting starts, coach people who haven't changed their name to do it before the meeting is called to order at the RTM meeting. So we'll be able to see and be able to target, to talk to specific people who haven't changed their name yet. And
So in other words, we should ask them to come on early if you haven't been
Yeah.
through this in one of your
yeah,
sessions.
if you haven't put your district first, please try to join the meeting 10 minutes early.
And we'll make sure you have it. And then after that, we can watch and send
Yeah.
people messages, right?
Yeah, because it's very easy. I mean, literally, everybody did it in 5 minutes because nobody joined the meeting until 5 minutes before it started. So I mean, it's not time consuming. You just have to hover your mouse over the 3 dots and
Okay.
click on personal information and change it. So it's
The other question I had is when we register for the meeting, we say we're going to attend. Some of us do it ahead of time. Some of us do it like 30 seconds before the meeting. Does that list tell us who has enough? If we could, is there a list once you do that? I'm assuming there is. And
yeah, I don't know what Kate sees on the pre-registration. I've never seen it.
All right, then I will ask. Or do you want to ask? Do you want to ask Mike?
Yeah.
You want me to do it? I'll do it.
No, I just don't know what we do with the information.
Well, I want to scan, and then we'll know how many people. If in fact it does it, I'm hoping we'll be able to see who we know ahead of time hasn't done it, and maybe if it's not too many, or if there's a lot, and we split it, or maybe we each look at our different districts or something like that, to send people a note. Hey, in the pre-reg, you weren't showing this. Could you please, if you haven't already done it, could you please sign on early? Or if you're switching devices. So just a little boost individually, maybe to help this happen.
Yeah, to send out Monday. Before I get the sense that, because she always sends out a second one, that a lot of people don't do it in advance, but I don't know the answer to the question.
No, I don't mind, and I don't. Maybe some others wouldn't mind. Just that Monday afternoon of 3:00, just take a look and see. Do we know ahead of time, and just blast an email to a whole bunch of people, unless there's like 50 of them, and then all hand, but we'll talk about that after we see where we end up. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And we find out from Kate what it looks like.
Okay.
Okay.
I suspect there would be that many.
That's what I'm hoping, and I'm hoping we can straighten that out. So we're good.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about the meeting on the rules meeting on Monday night and how we're going to report in and what we want to discuss. Okay, so from the agenda, don't tell me I didn't print that out. All right, I'm going to be working from memory. So there are 3 points that we need to comment, or we're open to comment. One is a discussion of the idea of changing and it's not the charter, but it's what
I think is it an ordinance?
I don't know what it is. Whatever the term is, we can. Oh wait, I have my.
It's in the email.
In the ordinance, you're right. It's the ordinance.
The ordinance.
I've got Frank's note here. To change the ordinance to allow for the ability to not mail. I'm sorry, I'm not finding that. The option to email distribution. I would like to stay with the option to email distribution. In other words, provide links to where they are posted, rather than eliminating them, rather than saying we're not going to send anything out. I don't know how you all feel about that.
I would think that we would want to give people that right now they don't have the option for the alternative, but that the default option will be email unless the RTM member asks to continue to receive by mail.
Right. So continue, it can continue to be available for those that don't want any change, but you have to, so it's an opt-in, Mike, is what you're suggesting.
An opt-in.
Yeah, I don't know how they changed the budget books, that the process that some people, which Donna would always ask who wants the printed version of the budget book. I don't know how that process was changed without the mail being changed.
Well, I don't think we ever really mailed them. We sort of sent them to the committees and then
They changed my first year on the RTM.
because we were asked, as I did it for a number of years as education chair, that we were asked who wanted how many budget books, and we needed to tell Donna, and then they were distributed through the committee. Or actually in education, we all got education books, but they asked us who wanted the selectman's book, and you had to ask for it. And then,
yeah, I thought Monica brought in a good point about, actually I print it out just so I have it, but I open the envelope just like Monica suggested, because I've got the agenda there. It's easy to do a quick Survey Monkey that is non-binding to members, to say this is something we're considering and it's non-binding, and give us your direction and see how many we get back.
well, I think we could ask them whether they want to opt in or opt out. Is that the question, or that we don't need?
Monica's point was that people, what was your point, Monica, was that you thought it might be at least the RTM to continue to send it out just as a reminder tool for people, that they may not say, okay, I'll take it by email, but a printed copy is of value as a tool, as a reminder tool. I can't remember what.
I think that the agenda does a few things, and one is, yes, it's a reminder, but I think you get a higher quality meeting from it. You get people more engaged, and it's true that there are lots of people that will print out if we if we stop sending them, but I think there'll be plenty of people that won't print out and they'll just kind of wing it. And so I think there are advantages to not distributing, but I think there are advantages to distributing that aren't as apparent until you really think about it.
Monica, are your comments directed at the warning itself, which I admit, sometimes I see that comes in, that's a reminder. I throw it on the calendar, and every time I walk by it, it's a reminder.
Yeah.
But are your comments also related to sometimes the 30, 40, 50 pages of materials that relate to whatever the agenda items are?
They haven't been sending those out. They've been posting those of late, right? Just all it is the resolutions now.
I think the resolutions and the agenda has the resolutions on it, and I think that that's all we need to send out. I think all the background information, you should be responsible for looking at that yourself. But I think that the blue piece of paper, it kind of grounds you, and you take your notes on it, you can go back to it. And I wonder how many people actually go back and read the minutes, when we're approving the minutes from a previous meeting, right? And I don't know. I think you're going to have a higher quality meeting with that piece of paper in front of people.
So there's still a savings to be had then if we're not sending all the supporting information.
I don't think we're sending it now.
I don't know. I still get a manila envelope every time. I don't know. I've always wondered why we. I've got a drawer full of them. They keep them. Waste conscious.
You might be getting them, Mark, because you're the clerk for the meeting, but I'm not getting them.
We get an envelope. Oh, I don't get lately. That's true. Lately, I've been getting the small envelope.
Yeah.
Well, that could be. I was checking. Yeah, we don't.
So the question is, do we leave it up to individual members to make that decision that they want that?
We'll open it up. See what's in it, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, I know it's in it. I mean, I got tons of them. But maybe I do get a bigger package because I'm the clerk or used to be a
And you're
chair.
mo-
Maybe that's
You're
it.
more, and you're more important, so.
I
there
don't know
you go.
about that. Nobody would agree with that. But.
I think that this is probably a discussion that we can bring up to the rules, and they're probably going to have plenty of opinions.
Well, that was the idea. And the purpose, it is on the agenda for the rules meeting at our request. The suggestion would be maybe to, because all it does is change the ordinance to allow it to be electronically delivered, but it doesn't mean it has to be, and it doesn't mean we can't put parameters on it. So there's really two issues. There's one, do we want to adjust the ordinance to allow this to happen? And then secondly, discuss, if so, what do we want to happen once we do it? And I think all of those discussions should happen. I mean, and I don't think it hurts to change the ordinance to allow for email distribution.
I agree with that. In this day and age, to allow for electronic distribution of anything seems to make sense. I mean, if we learn nothing from this pandemic, it's that. Whether or not we then have an option to opt in or opt out, we'll let the rules committee, RTM, weigh in. I'm indifferent, opt in or opt out. Right? I mean,
or even not.
Maybe the default is, even though we change the ordinance, the default is we keep sending it out, but we at least give folks the option to not have paper sent. And that's a step in that direction.
Unless that's going to cause too much confusion in town hall. I mean, so to be explored to both by town hall and what the rules committee wants. Okay.
Yeah.
And and I had a question which maybe Frank can answer, but when the charter was changed, or the ordinance was changed to allow the minutes to be sent, I'm wondering if there was a reason that the agenda wasn't included in that discussion. Why they didn't, why?
I think that, I don't know. Because it's a separate ordinance and you'd have to change it differently. The other ordinance was changed. I don't know. That's an interesting question. We should know the answer to that before we go into the meeting. So I will write an email to Frank and copy all of it. And so it's not a bad question to come up in the rules meeting, but I also think we should know it ahead of time if we're opening up this can of worms. Okay.
Okay.
And it's in terms of the point about confusion or to make it more confusing for the clerk, we could just put this on the agenda at the November organizational meeting where when they vote for the district chairs, that there's a list that you pass around to check your name on a box of what your preference is for delivery of the materials.
But I also want to make sure that they have the ability to say, send it to these and not to these, that it's not just one master list of everybody on the RTM. That they can take people off, but not take them, still here's my master address list of the RTM. And these are the ones that get this versus not. That's what I'm thinking about the,
so two lists.
Yeah, but Mike, your point is well taken. So the question is, and Mark, I'm wondering if you want to talk about this in the meeting. I'm trying to have some of us talk different things, and we can all chime in. Okay.
I'm happy to.
Okay. So I will, if I'll have Seth, call on you, or he'll call on me, and then because he'll say it's the technology committee, and I'll just turn it over to you. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Point one. The next point is to the update on where we are, and that basically, I'm basically going to say that the Board of Selectmen is meeting right then and there to determine what the mission is of that technology committee that review committee that they're putting together. So we'll know that whenever, and then turn it over to Mike to give a status of the implementation of people's names. I guess I'll do an intro which says that the reason we want to do the person's names is it helps manage the meeting, because we can take out people that we can take people out who are not members of the RTM and make them presenters so that they can, we don't want to say they don't get polled. Just we can separate members of the RTM from guests. Okay, and we can do that by doing this coding.
Yeah, so they don't get ballot issues.
Well, I don't know if I want to
They
say.
will, they will actually get it. They're just not allowed. Well, if they're presenters, they can. Now, if-
Presenters don't get it. That's why we're going to take these other people to be presenters. But let's just say, so we can separate members from presenters and just leave it at that.
But I noticed as I recall, I noticed at the list of the last meeting, there were, Jamie was not listed as a presenter. There were 3 or 4 people that I saw from the Board of Finance that were not presenters that were part of the list of the members.
Right, and that's why we're pushing all this stuff. So, and then we'll talk about Mark and Monica and me or whatever, looking while we're in a meeting to say, hey, Kate, you need to pull so-and-so. I mean, we need to assist Kate in pulling them out. And they're listed as presenters. It doesn't give them the right to speak because the things are still muted. What it means is they don't get the polls. Whoops.
Right.
Here we are talking about the stuff that's supposed to be an executive session anyway. Oh, well. But so that piece. Mark, are you still here?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure we didn't lose you.
Yep. No.
So after we do that, Mike, I'll turn it to you and you give an update of how we're approaching it and where we are. And I thank people for their support and help.
Yep.
Okay. And then, so what else do we need to do? And then we're going to do then we're going to go into executive session, which we're going to do in our executive session. Okay.
I noticed on the agenda, did we want to do, I thought we were going to ask Wayne, or Seth was going to ask Wayne to do a 10-minute FOI, but I don't know.
Not for that meeting. He's putting up for the rules meeting. It's on the rules meeting agenda.
Oh, it is? Okay, I must have missed it.
It's as a discussion, as an option for the next RT discussion point for the next RTM meeting. So we're all on the same page. Is the idea of having Wayne do an update on FOI, and Seth strongly supports the fact that we all get this information before every RTM meeting. Some of us informed him that not everybody reads it, and making sure that the highlights are important. Also, one of the things that Mike, you had raised, which I found really interesting, was the fact that if we have our email address as a dariencT.gov address and have that forwarded automatically to our personal emails or combine it with personal emails, that was still subject to an FOI.
Well, and that's the part that I think is important for him to clarify.
Yeah. And so what I hope is that, and I don't know if Seth's going to turn to us to talk about this issue or not. Talk about the FOI, the FOI discussion. I might introduce it and turn it over to you, Mike, if you have any more comments. But I definitely want to raise that point, because if that's the point, then who cares what email they're using? If we're going to be FOI it's going to go to our personal either way. If we forward it.
If somebody just doesn't want to list it on their iPhone or that they just have to remember to go to the town website or the town email service to see if they have any emails that they have to, it's not pushed out to them, they have to pull it. I mean, that's the way we.
Okay, I will let you talk about that because you've got better language.
That's the way we used to have to do it, where we had to go into the website. Well, people still go into Gmail and open up Gmail to look at. It's just they then would also have to go into the town email service to see if they got any emails. And if you only get one a week or one a month, it's kind of falls off your list of things to do.
Yeah. So the question is, if FOI, because I think a lot of people merge it into their regular emails so that they're getting them all automatically.
Right.
So that's what's really important to know.
Hey, Mike, I'm not following that, because every email has its own domain, right? And so all of us have multiples, right? I have 7. But I access them all through the same Outlook, but they're not cross-contaminated, if you will, because I'm not allowed to cross-contaminate my regulatory, my banking, and now that we're talking about government. So I'm confused. You're talking about forwarding them from?
No. Again, that's why I wanted to do it, because I can't remember where I got I was told that if you had them, on separate domains, but merged in, all were then accessible. I mean, do you have to go to each of your email addresses individually to access them, or are they all merged in from the different domains that you receive.
They're all merged.
No, they're not. They're
Mine
all,
aren't.
mine are
separate.
not. And I suspect most people's are not. You may be able to see them consolidated on your screen if you're, say, in Outlook, but each one is a direct separate domain. And so
For instance, on my
you can
iPhone,
tell- yeah, I'm trying to understand. What's that on my iPhone?
my iPhone, my government Darien government emails are merged into with my other emails.
I think it
Right,
may.
but they're separate domains.
Yeah,
They're consolidated. You can see them all for sure. But they're separate domains.
Yeah, they're separate domains, but if they're merged, is it, the information that I have could be wrong.
Yeah, okay, we ought to check on that because the entire universe is going to have that problem. There's no segregation possible then, unless you only have one account.
Or unless you go into accounts individual, you go into the email directly. In other words, don't all put it in Outlook. You go to the government site and look at that one. You go and do the rest separately.
Oh, that's not going to work. Yeah, that's
I know.
yeah,
That's why I don't do
that's a
it.
real problem. That's a real problem.
That's why
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
they carry two devices, so that one is for their government and one is for their, or not government or business or whatever, so that they aren't merged onto one device. They carry two separate devices.
Yeah, no, we ought to.
So I don't know the answer. The information I got could be wrong. That's why I wanted to find out what the correct.
Definitely let's drill down on that, because anyone that works with a bank or any regulated entity has the same issue, and we're all most of us are issued devices that, guess what, has on there our personal emails, our government emails, and that regulated, and it's segregated. So we ought to.
We need that. We need the info.
We need the info. We need to understand this better.
Yeah, and it's not only the legal, but it's also how the technical and the legal intertwine.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's like saying you have to access them all from a separate computer.
No, you just have to go directly to it. You just have to go directly to it, not through Outlook or not through. And my understanding is Apple merges them for you. So I was thinking in terms of that. I wasn't thinking in terms of Outlook, but I didn't know you could merge things through Outlook. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. You can tell you everything. Okay.
But Apple does it on the phone, but doesn't do it in Mac Mail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't do your government account into your Mac Mail. It does it on your phone, but not on your Mac Mail. You have to go into a separate.
But I could. I mean, I don't, but I thought that I could.
Well, that's another thing. The cheat sheet that I got from Linda on how to do it said, and this goes back 3 years, so maybe things have changed. But I know that's why I have to have it on my iPhone, because I don't get the government emails on my computer. That's why I got to but I use my iPhone enough.
Anyway, it's clear that we all need more information on this.
Right, because no one's going to buy
how it works.
No one's going to buy a separate device so they can keep in touch with RTM emails. That's never going to happen.
No, you don't need a separate. But you might have to go directly to it or not. Anyway, I think we all need. Then we can make our choices. So, is there any other business we need to move before we go into executive session?
Nope, not me.
Good, nope. Monica, Mark. Okay, and we're going into executive session now, and then we will be ending the meeting. So we will not be coming back as a group. Okay.